All right, everyone, kind of continuing on the vein of deviance. What we're going to do today is look at kind of the conflict theory side of it. This is actually pretty short as far as what I lecture, but kind of the implications, though, are actually pretty big. Um, because because if you really understand this theory and you actually apply this theory, you can actually you look at things a little bit differently. In fact, after the PowerPoint, my little lecture, there's a another video that I kind of have linked on the Schoology page as well that kind of kind of shows this in action a little bit, and so yeah. So kind of a review of kind of what conflict theory is. Pretty much the basic premise is this. You have a group within a society who has the power. And what they want to do is they want to protect that power. So, for example, rich and powerful use their positions to determine what acts are deviant within the society and how deviance should be punished. If you guys, if you've seen anything on TV involving, somebody going to jail, whether they should or should not, even, the fashions, what movies are good, those types of things. Um, and, and again, the whole idea is if they can kind of label certain things as bad for the rest of society, the idea is ultimately that they are kind of protecting their positions. So, like, for example, and this is something that's really real and happening right now. Um, and even before the coronavirus stuff, we'll kind of move away from the coronavirus for a little bit. But a lot of the stuff that happens on the internet, um, and I'm sure maybe you've heard this on the news, TV, teachers, parents maybe have said this, but there was a time in the not too distant past where people were saying like, YouTube was going to turn children into Nazis or something like that. And the idea that they really wanted to put out there was this: getting your information from YouTube is a deviant behavior. You're supposed to get your news from, CNN, NBC, the big cable news networks. And then if you follow the money, what you'll see is a lot of people are not really turning to the cable networks anymore. They're actually going to places like YouTube to get their commentary and news and stuff like that. So that's kind of the idea. Now, Steven Spitzer, yes, I know I love to beat on CNN, but Steven Spitzer, he was a sociologist, and what he did was he kind of laid out five things, five basic ways in which a culture will defend itself from deviance and deviant behavior. Um, so the first thing is they point out that they say, critics of society are considered deviants because their beliefs challenge the economics, the politics, or the social basis of a society. So somebody who comes along and, is a politician and they're a little bit different. Somebody is a bit different from an economic standpoint. They're creating something new. Or even, social basis. Like for example, and like YouTube is a big example of this. Um, Pretty much a guy with a webcam, many guys with webcams and gals as well, but they get more eyeballs watching their stuff than CNN. And but again, this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that was not normal. This challenges kind of the stuff of society. Second thing is because society requires a willing workforce, those who do not work are considered deviants. Now, this can mean, there's kind of two things to this. One, um, people that, the base uh, label, get a job, that type of stuff. That's the first thing. Second thing is this. They want you working the same way. All right, because it's not just, going off and having a job type thing. It's also working in the way that you're kind of supposed to. Um, like for example, when I was in high school, the process was this: graduate high school, go to college, get a job. To not do those three things in order was to be a deviant. Now that thing is being changed because, people, A, don't go to a traditional four-year college anymore. They go to trade school, they do other things. And then a job, the idea is you work for this, you get hired on with a company, you work there for 20 years, you retire. That was a deviant idea when I was in high school. Now, not so much. Um, Third, those who threaten private property, especially that belongs to the rich, are defined as deviants and are prime targets for punishment. Um, yeah, pretty much that's pretty self-explanatory. Anyone who kind of violates the property, even, that's more than just your house. It's your stuff, it's your things, it's all those types of stuff. Um, but the idea is you have people following certain rules, not abusing each other or something like that. And conflict theory, they take it and they say, well, the rich are, they would say that society sets it up to where the rich are more important, mainly because they got more stuff to lose. But so anybody who kind of violates the rights and properties of anybody should be punished. Four, because societies need for respect for authority, people who show lack of respect for authority are treated as deviants. So people that don't show the right respect or decorum to people who believe that they should have it. Um, this can be politicians, this can be news, this can be whatever. Um, and then lastly, certain activities that might be considered deviant are nevertheless encouraged if they fit well within the society. So things that would normally be seen as weird, society will actually say they're not normal. Society will actually say that deviant behavior is not deviant because it actually fits well with what kind of the powerful within the society want to happen. So, and this can be anything. Like, for example, people watch, you know, there are people, like, for example, people make multi-million dollars throwing a ball around. That's kind of weird because you either do it for fun or you're a multi-millionaire. There's not really like a middle ground with it. So, to a certain extent, if you like sports, and I watch sports too every now and then, but the idea that everybody gets together and watches like the Super Bowl is kind of weird behavior. It's not a normal behavior that we all do in our day-to-day lives. So again, remember, doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It's just different from what the rest of society is kind of doing, or at any given time or any given day. But the idea, and here's kind of the underlying premise, and this is kind of where you end up with the tinfoil hat crowd and stuff like that, whether you want like the big hat or a little hat, whether you're a big conspiracy nut or a little bit of one, is this: the wealthy, and this is the underlying premise of conflict theory when it looks at deviance, the wealthy, the powerful, they want to keep things status quo because that is the world where they're the top dog in. And if they can reshape the world where they're the top dog or keep being the top dog, that is in essence what they will do. They will try to engineer a society using things like the media and stuff like that to push out certain narratives. Okay, and that's kind of the video after this on the Schoology list. Um, that's all about, because what it does is it shows the media putting out these kinds of messages. And I kind of showed you one a little bit similar, but this one I think does a little bit better job of kind of pointing this out. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this. After the lecture, the other little video, there's a little assignment, and this one's kind of on a Word document, so you can download it and then upload it back once you get finished, completing the worksheet. It's nothing too hard, nothing too crazy. It's just something a little different, and also something that will kind of get you thinking about these 5 things. Because again, I can lecture about it, but the idea is you need to be able to sit down and really think about it and kind of grapple with it a little bit and kind of see where you can see this stuff sort of play out. And that's it. Peace out.